Battlegrounds Season 18 options. Let's get into the video, shall we? So this month is going to be Mutant Mastery. Whenever a mutant attacker applies a debuff to the defender, they have a 40% chance to gain an indefinite prowess buff, increasing special attack damage by 30%. This chance increases by 20% for each debuff on the defender. These prowess buffs are removed after the attacker finishes a special attack. The defender buffs: each time the defender purifies or cleanses a debuff, they gain a charge that permanently increases their combat power rate by 3%. This goes up to a maximum of 20 charges, and when inflicted with a debuff, the defender has a 25% chance to purify the effect. This month definitely feels like, or this season feels like, a little bit of complexity on top of a little bit of complexity. In a nutshell, it feels like you're using mutant champions, or you're advised to use mutant champions. Therefore, you'd be like, okay, what do I feel as a defender? Well, a lot of champions that are skill-based have the cleanse or purify mechanic within them that gives them more of a guaranteed, like Baron Zemo on defense, or Chilf, or Misty Knight, or Kingpin, or many other skill-based champions. So does fielding a skill-based champion on defense make sense if the enemy, or me, the attacker, is looking to use a mutant-based champion? Well, it may not exactly work out like that. And it could be a case that instead of fielding those skill-based champions in defense, they're looking at the fact that a lot of people will be using mutants and maybe countering with a tech champion, possibly. Here's a good example from MCOC Avenger. I'll put a link to this in the description, where you could have champions, of course, that are skill-based, that have these elements of purification, but you've got a lot of them at class disadvantage. Yeah, there are certain ones, depending on certain elements, that would work, but a lot of them don't really work because, again, class advantage to class disadvantage type elements with it. Would you indeed you can't put Captain America because that's based on a synergy, or not synergy, certain champions on the team which don't work in Battlegrounds. You could as well look at the same situation or similar when it comes to Vision Archers. Maybe a good option to put in defense, again, if you want. Depending as well on the interaction, if you're using a mutant champion in attack and the defense is Elsa Bloodstone, then yes, that could have an interaction because bleed will cause you to be degened. So that could be a relatively good defense-based option. And of course, you've got your cleanses with your Molemans, your Chilf, and as well your Baron Zemo. I haven't really mentioned this in the spreadsheet, which I'll put a link to in the description, but it's definitely something to consider as a potential option. Either way, there could be a lot of really decent and effective mutant-based options. With Magica still being a thing at the moment with the bonus, you might look to quick-to-action debuffs. The quicker you do a debuff, the quicker it's purified, the quicker you get your prowess buff. And of course, a lot of champions have quick, easy access. Iceman, for example, he has got it straight off the bat. That's one thing. Mr. Sinister recently buffed. Again, quick to access and keep on things like degen buffs. Archangel, always effective. Domino, great amount of damage. Again, equally effective. But Onslaught and Storm, for example, there is a little bit of kind of like work you'd have to do to access things like Shock and degen respectively. Or what Onslaught does, as well as Bishop, actually, with the Incinerate, but again, SP1 rotation for that. So I'm just thinking off the top of my head about like a lot of the stuff of the quick, easy access. And that's really the thing. That's going to be the trouble, isn't it, for you as a player? Like, quick, easy access is going to be so important. Quick, easy access to bleeds with Wolverine. Access to things like poisons with Toad. Same thing with Apocalypse, which does require a parry heavy or an SP1, depending on what debuff you're looking to do, or have quick, easy access to. So a lot of levels to it. Same thing with or similar thing with Dust. And you could look to, okay, if the enemy is going to throw on tech champions, then bring 2 Magnetos to deal with what would be a potential class advantage that will be put in the defense. So you might be like, okay, well, I'll just bring in the 2 Magnetos to deal with the fact that they're putting in, I don't know, an Ultron, for example, or Guillotine 2099. Not saying they will or won't. This will be a very adaptive season where I think you're going to have to really think about what is going to be best options to go against this. Like, you could go as simple as to say, right, with Colossus, parry, that's a debuff, and as soon as that goes off, then you get the prowess, SP2, no, heavy attack, SP2, big damage with a prowess buff, it could be possible. But again, you've got to rely on certain aspects. Or maybe you have to use something like parry. Parry is purified. Then wait to a striker or relics ready. Put your spirit button down. Striker comes in. And then it's heavy. Then SP2. And that's your rotation. But that's something you've really got to like watch out for. If enemies are purifying stuff, then likely is they'll purify your parry and stun as quickly as you apply it. One thing that's interesting is Storm does have something a part of her kit which I was looking through that I just thought could be quite effective for this. And it may be something that I put up to rank 2. I've got a rank 2 in any case, but I'm going to do that when I'm on my cruise so I can have stuff to work on because I'm just going to be busy trying to get this sorted. If a skill opponent purifies a stun debuff, it's replaced with a passive stun lasting 2 seconds. I'm not saying she will or won't, but that's an interesting element to access stuns, where against champions that are skill are, you know, going to be a little bit kind of like sneaky with stuff. If that is going to be the meta for defensive based play for purifying based champions or quick to access purify based champions like Baron Zemo, like Chilf, like Moleman, like Kingpin, like several other skill champions that we could see on defense. So in general, what could we see on defense? Well, I think we'll see the same thing. All the regulars, all the regular difficult champions, especially being ex Magica, all the frustrating usual ones that we see: Serpent, Onslaught, Apocalypse, Vision, which I do have in twice. I'll explain about that in a minute. And yeah, it could be skill. That's the biggest thing. I'm just unsure about how the play is with this one. I've put in a spreadsheet a load of tech-based champions that I think will be relatively effective to be placed in defense. Again, it depends on what people are fielding. I put in the community tab to find out whether or not you were putting anything of great note. Several people were saying that they would be putting tech champions. So again, I don't know. Some people were saying to put in skill champions. So I guess this will be adapt as we go for the season. And the same thing could be going into the likes of Gladiator Circuit. So in Gladiator Circuit, which we need to zoom this in a little bit just so we can read a bit, is that it's not much different except for Ebb and Flow Knockdown. So Ebb and Flow Knockdown is going to see removal, or as soon as you've done the removal of the protection, the attacker gets a passive Fury, which is fine, and that's good. When the Fury expires, the protection returns, and all debuffs on the defender are purified. There's obviously some more stuff to this, and I have skipped over power creep. Because of the potency, because it's only 3%, I don't know if it's going to being seen as an issue. That issue being that if a champion is building power quickly, you might need power control based champions. So, could you get a frustrating Hyperion in as a defender? Considering the factor that the champion builds power exponentially, and amplifying it with the likes of power creep could play into it. Again, these are very early stages. Like you could do the same with Purgatory or any other champion that builds power quickly. So again, it's like this is going to be a season, I think, of adapting and understanding what is going to be good and not good when it comes to the meta. Is it going to be the skill-based champions of having the likes of Atuma, Nick Fury, Kingpin? Is it going to be all about annoying champions like Hyperion and power gain champions? Is it not? Is it going to be a case of throwing on techs and mystics? Like, we still need to kind of test. I think that's the thing. As soon as the season goes live tomorrow, is test it. What are these particularly decent options? And the same thing goes on. Like, you could be fielding some defensive annoyance like King Groot or Doctor Doom that have power control immunity. Again, we're talking about another level of complexity here to like what is a good counter to this. Power control immune champions could see frustrated because you can't use the likes of Doctor Doom or infamous Iron Man to counter those in defense. I think even more so when it comes to this one, because on power build-up on week 3 of Gladiator Circuit, it is, again, building power. So do you suppress? Do you bring power control? Is it not going to be a possibility? I think this will be about a learning. So that's the thing that I just want to end on, or touch upon. In theory, mutant-based champions will be the best attacking options. But the defensive-based options could vary depending on the situation. Could it indeed be some of those power control immune champions by the end of it? But at the same time, could it be some of those frustrating tech champions getting people frustrated going into victory from victory track to gladiator circuit? Those are some options. Thanks very much for watching. Check out some other content located on the screen, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.